Hello, welcome to the self-learning podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 10, 12, Trends and Pattern of Urbanization. And we are continuing our topic, Trends and Pattern of Urbanization in India across size class of urban settlement. The pattern is identical in the 1991 census, although there is a general deceleration in urban growth in all size categories. However, one notes that the class 1 cities have grown faster than the towns belonging to the smaller size classes during 1981 to 91. An attempt has been made by Kundu to recalculate the figures using data from the 2001 census. The analysis reveals that there are 3,415 towns common in both the 1991 and 2001 censuses, after excluding the new towns and towns that are declassified in the 2001 census. The class 6 towns have once again registered a high growth rate compared to even class 1 cities. However, the class 1 centers continued to have an edge over the other towns in terms of their growth rate. One would therefore argue that the urban structure is becoming increasingly skewed due to higher demographic growth in larger cities. The adjusted annual exponential growth rate for class 1 towns during the 1970s and 1980s have been worked out as 3.46 and 2.96 respectively. The 2001 census has indicated a slight decline in the growth rate of class 1 towns to 2.76%. computed on the basis of 291 common class 1 towns during 1991 to 2001. Small towns of category 4 and 6, 4 to 6 together indicate a growth rate of 3.07 and 2.57% growth during 1981 and 1991. This has gone down to 2.22 during the 1991 to 2001. One may therefore argue that the decline in growth rate of small and medium towns is sharper in comparison to class 1 cities. This may be attributed to migration to larger towns and higher natural increase. Further, emergence of satellite township in the peripheries of large towns and their absorption into the urban agglomeration over time are also explaining factors. There are also outgrowths that have been treated as parts of the agglomeration by the census. Moreover, there has been expansions in the municipal boundaries of the class 1 cities, contributing to urban growth. All these factors have resulted in higher growth of class 1 cities. Metro cities or cities having a population of a million or more also corroborate the thesis of concentrated urban development. Million plus cities have on the average grown at the rate of 3.25% during the 1981 to 91, which is higher than the growth rate of common towns at 2.83% during the same period. The 2001 census, however, brings out that the growth rate of all towns has gone down across all size categories, including that of the metro cities. The growth rate of metro cities has gone down to 2.88, but that of common towns has declined more sharply to 2.6%. It is thus obvious that the growth of metropolitan cities is higher than that in common towns or class 1 cities. The spatial concentration of urban population is in class 1 cities and more so in metro cities. The share of million plus cities was about 26.41 of the urban population in 1981, which increased to 32.54 in 1991 and 37.81 in 2001. Significantly, most of the million plus cities comprised at least one municipal corporation and several municipalities. Such agglomerations have the municipal corporation of the biggest city at the core, with municipalities of relatively smaller towns forming the periphery. Kundu noted that over the last 2 decades, the metropolitan cities have exhibited four important features, namely declining core, growing periphery, growing core, declining periphery, growing core and growing periphery, declining core and declining periphery. They observed that Greater Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi and Chennai have recorded a higher growth in their peripheries in comparison to their cores. Pressure of population, deficiency of infrastructure and basic amenities, a higher cost of living and stringent land laws may have disintegrated the capacity of core areas of these cities to absorb the incremental population. Such section of the population get settled in the periphery, resulting in the faster growth of urban areas. Cities like Jamshedpur, Asansol, which have recently attained the status of metro cities, have shown fast growing peripheries. This is important from the point of regional development. Bangalore, however, is an exception to this pattern and has a faster growing core. Another pattern of urban growth that are emerged is that of corridor development. This is observed in some cities like Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Vadodara, Ahmedabad, Surat and Calcutta, Dhanbad, Jamshedpur. This type of spatial development of urban centers is also emerging in other parts of the country, as has been brought out by a recent study by the Center for the Policy Research, New Delhi. It is important to observe that demographic growth in the capitals of the major states and in the national capital is almost at par with that of the million plus cities. This further confirms the proposition of unbalanced urban growth across size categories. It may, however, be noted that the growth rate in 10 capital cities has declined in the 90s compared to the previous decades. This may be because of the structural adjustment, expenditure control, and decline in public investment in infrastructure. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with a self-learning podcast.